Hi, madam. How are you? I hope you are doing well. So now we want to present about risk and crisis communication of MH370. Before that, I would like to introduce my group members, Hana, Logeshwari, and Vivian. Okay, shall we start? All business in the world are vulnerable to the crises that can give a damaging impact on the organization reputation. In correspondence to COMS 2007, there are three related threats that can be generated by a crisis. First, public safety. Second, financial loss. And third, reputation loss. In essence, the ultimate concern in a crisis has to be the public safety. The way an aviation company reacts to a crisis not only can affect the upshot of the crisis itself, but it also can have a vast impact on the company's reputation and survival. The year of 2014 has become a witness when Malaysia have encountered devastating tragedies. 2014 MH370 flight was disappeared from the radar soon after it departed in less than an hour carrying 227 passengers, including two infants and 12 Malaysian crew members. Two-thirds, 150 of the passengers were Chinese citizens, with the rest of passengers originating from 13 other countries. Flight MH370 departed from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing, China on 8th March 2014 at 12:41 midnight. According to Berita Harian News, flight MH370 was scheduled to arrive in Beijing at 6:40 am, but the signal of flight MH370 has disappeared from the Malaysia's Department of Civil Aviation at 1:30 am. Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control Center initiated efforts to establish the location of MH370 by contacting air control centers of Singapore, Hong Kong, and Vietnam, but all units reported negative contact. Almost 5 hours after the plane took off, the Rescue Coordination Center was activated and MH370 flight was reported as missing. The last communication between the plane and Malaysia Air Traffic Control took place about 1:19 am. The co-pilot had said, "All right, good night." So, however, Malaysia authorities later confirmed that last word heard from the plane spoken either by the pilot or co-pilot were in fact "Good night Malaysia 370." As the authorities could not provide any specific information to the media, various speculation and theories arose to the cause of its disappearance, from terrorism to mechanical failure. From this, we can see that the fake news rumors spread like a wildfire among the public. From military radar later revealed that the plane was intentionally diverted by someone on board, heading west instead of north. Minister Liao Tiong Lai said the plane would be found in the Indian Ocean. However, flight MH370 has still not been located due to human tragedy as well as media demand for answer, which made it extremely complex to handle. The company's response to the disappearance of MH370 is one of the bad examples of crisis communication management ever seen.
Thank you, Pooja. My name is Hannah and I will be explaining about the SWOT analysis for MH370 case. In this case, the missing MH370 tragedy in 2014, Malaysia Airlines applied the Situational Crisis Communication Theory (SCCT) to meet the stakeholders' demand for crisis communication and maintain accuracy of spokesperson. Crisis Management of Malaysia Airlines (MAS) applied the diminished crisis response strategy to explain the crisis while giving their first media statement. Strength: diminishing crisis response relieves mass responsibility of the flight disappearance as it portrays the occurrence as beyond control of mass during media statement. Moreover, a CCT strategy implies that no intentional involvement of the organization was there to bring harm to passengers, crew, and the plane. Additionally, the applicability of the diminished crisis response strategy claims inability of mass to revert or control that crisis situation. Weakness: the significant drawback of this strategy is the lack of generating insight on the exact situation to apply this strategy to maintain a positive relation with public relations practitioners. Thus, while the crisis occurred, Mas was inconsistent in decision-making and looked forward to the participation of the Malaysian government regarding the press conference about updated news of MH370 flight. Opportunities: application of diminishing crisis strategy partially relieved Mars from framing done by media after the flight disaster. Mars had the opportunity to keep a stable market position from their previous responsible performance. According to Zafra and Madden 2018, rather than progress in rescue, the cause of flight crises and accidents are in the deliberate attention of the public that can be easily worsened by the media through bias and exaggerated news. Mars had opportunities to use social media platforms such as Facebook and Twitter to keep the public updated about the crisis. Threats. Responsibility of public safety was questioned about after the strategy as they denied any blame regarding the cause of this flight disappearance. The loss of communication with MH370 threatened many lives that has resulted in lost customer engagement, financial loss, and loss of competitive advantage in the future. Next, using situational crisis communication theory (SCCT), Malaysia Airlines applied the rebuild strategy to manage the crisis situation and to overcome it. Strength. Application of rebuild strategy has provided Mars an option to apologize about the consequences and provide compensation to the family members that has lost their lives in this tragedy. Thus, the strategy can rebuild public support for the company and portray their empathy and victim support regarding compensating action for unintentional crisis responsibility. Weakness. Rebuild strategies sometimes contemplate excuse to hide responsibility of crisis rather than reminding them of their previous performance. Though there are the possibilities of some characteristics that had intensified the factors of the crisis and added the responsibility of providing compensation as a financial implement. Rebuild strategy is also unable to detect the technological faults that have been found within the company. Opportunities. The rebuild strategy has provided the opportunity to Mars to purchase the market shares and lift up the competitive advantage. The relationship of Mars with the existing suppliers is quite good because of its previous engagement and market performances, so the applied strategy helped to build up the reputation of the company quite easily with speed. Threats. Mars had experienced financial losses as the flight was missing and that had threatened many lives. Abiding by the rebuild theory, Mars has to compensate to the devastated families, including the apologies.
Thank you, Anna, for your clear explanation. I am Logiswari, daughter of Panitsalam. I would like to explain the risk and crisis communication plan that were implemented by the chosen organization in its effort to prepare for prevent crisis. Malaysia Airlines handle crisis communication in different aspects such as delivery of information, handling of victims' families and risk of response strategies and the chosen communication channels. MH370 organization ensures when the crisis does not communicate with the news media, other parties replace itself has the chance to do so, and the worst case scenario could happen if the victim or families perceive information from others first. Ahmad Jahori Yahya conduct a press statement on MH370 tragedy with content guidance of a crisis response as complete information about the crisis, understanding to the victims and their crisis communication management efforts. The Malaysian Airlines position Prime Minister, who is Ishamuddin Hussein, has another spokesperson within the first 24 hours of the crisis circumstance to address the public and sustain them on the crisis information that was obtainable based on what is known and what is being done in managing the crisis and its victims. Crisis response strategies include three parts such as diminish, and rebuild. Malaysia Airlines start to use diminish crisis response strategy through the main media statement were noticed the loss of contact with the plane, thus confirmed that this situation could be explained as something beyond the right of the organization. Additionally, would they deliberately harm the passengers, their crew and the plane itself? Malaysia Airlines has embraced the rebuild strategy as expected in the airline industry that involved plane accidents by recompensing the families of passengers on board. It also provided a liberal amount of aid towards the families like as immediate financial aid, accommodation, hotel, travel facilities and meals. Continuously, the CRS involves the concern to express feeling and explain what the organization is doing to overcome a report of the crisis. SCCT takes part as an apology expresses regret over the event and requests forgiveness as well as to reinstate the organization's destroyed reputation.
For instance, Ahmad Jahuri Yahya communicated in his statement to the families of the passengers on board MH370, "We share your pain and anxiety." Malaysia Airlines also obeyed the recommendations in the situation crisis communication theory, where the corrective actions and trauma counseling are well provided by the airlines. As a conclude of this part, Malaysia Airlines played an excellent job in helping the distraught families to ensure they have access to around-the-clock support. It also fulfilled their responsibility in assigning the financial aids to the families of victims. Next, I would like to pass with next presenter.
Thank you, Lourdes, for your explanation. I'm Vivian. Now I will talk about our suggestion and recommendation. When a crisis occurs, comms point out that people are curious about what happened, and news media will seek the opportunity to fill the information void and to be a crucial source for first crisis information to the public. For this case, mass should announce the news swiftly, clearly, accurately through media platforms before anyone else leaked the news after the incident happened. Musk could have also published their official statement and apologized on Facebook, Twitter, and also spread the news to the press immediately in order to ensure the public and stakeholders get the news. This action could get attention from the public, and they will stay tuned for further updates from Musk instead wait for third parties. The crisis had affected Musk's reputation as well as its stock price in the market. Approaches that fly low can help minimize immediate harm to both reputation and stock prices. According to Moran, the fly low action is when crisis managers say a little bit about the crisis. But the fly low approach is unsafe since it appears to limit the capacity for both reputations and stock values to recover. So, crisis managers from Mars need to decide whether they seek a short or long-term benefit from their crisis communication strategy. Consequently, Malaysia Airlines must develop flexible crisis response capabilities, cater to the emotional needs of its citizens rather of simply their informational demands, and undertake a post-mortem analysis on how to manage crises better in the future. Conclusion: the missing of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is still one of aviation's greatest mysteries. However, crisis communication is an applied discipline because it seeks to find solutions to real-world problems. Since the MH370 crisis occurred both offline and online, our findings suggest that in addition to mastering traditional public relations techniques, mass crisis managers also need to constantly update their digital knowledge and develop relationships with new media's public, including journalists, in order to be able to intervene and address complex crisis situations online. That's all from us. Thank you.